Okay, so this video was actually meant to be released shortly after I came back from my 2023 Semester 2 exam hiatus. However, during that time off, my channel had slowly grown. All the while, I couldn't capitalize on the new audience as I had to prioritize the career stat. I'm going to focus on the one exam I have every several months. I only get 2 shots a year at getting closer to my CPA qualification via exams. As much as it pains me, I'm not going to jeopardize that to take advantage of some semi-viral content on my channel. So once that exam was over, I got straight to work on more thoughts I had on a money-making tactic from a very popular self-improvement channel, and that video took way longer than I anticipated. So after that, I didn't want to work on another long video, even though the next one was still almost an hour. But the point is, I assumed this video was going to be another long one. No idea how long it'll be as I type this part of the script. So I didn't want to make 2 long-ass videos back to back. I was almost going to scrap this idea entirely, but I didn't for 3 reasons. 1, these raw videos and other information I go over can provide a good example of some of the extra work that goes into my grind, as some of the stuff I do doesn't really get documented in a week in the life or my life update videos. So it'll show the little extra bits and bobs that are involved in the grind. 2, I already had filmed a lot of content for this, and I already had a slideshow of everything I had been up to since my last YouTube video before the hiatus, and before I came back. So I was like, I feel I should probably make a video on this. At the very least, it can show a timestamp of the progress in my life. Number 3, I finished 2 videos on the same day. I scheduled a day off from the office since without it, I would have worked around 45 plus days going into Christmas. And I had a massive run into Christmas last year. No thanks, not again. So I decided to take a day off in November. I failed No Day Off November, as well as another November specific challenge. So given this, I didn't want to upload the 2 videos too close to each other. And in fact, I uploaded the Brian Johnson video a little earlier than I had liked. Ideally, I would have spaced that out a little more, but I didn't make the same mistake with my 100k in 3 years savings video. So whilst I wait for time to pass to upload that video, I figured I may as well make this one. I had a few other ideas, such as making a video around my new updated resume, but I figured I'd just make this one, since later in December, I need to start making my end of year video and my 2024 goals video, which will probably take a lot of time. So in the meantime, I will make the video you're watching/listening to now. So we'll start over with some little extra bits relating to each of my stats and the progress/changes that were made during my hiatus. So basically, progress in my life around the time of my exam hiatus that wasn't documented in a video. I will then show bits of footage relating to that time off, and then give extra commentary relating to the video/images you just saw. So let's get into it. So what this is here is a snippet of my private emails. This isn't the gamification of life email address. Unfortunately, I am just really bad at checking that. It's partially because I don't actually remember the password to that email address. So whenever I check that email, I need to jump through these hoops since I need to have codes sent to my private email because that private email is the backup, and that private email needs to be confirmed, and then there needs to be a code for that, and then yada yada. So if you've sent me an email, I apologize for being slow on the responses. But anyway, you can see here that I basically just sent a bunch of links to Alex Hormozi's book to myself, as I was listening to his video on it whilst I was working in the fridges at the supermarket job. You're not allowed to have headphones in whilst working in there, but I'm pretty discreet and I just take the gamble that I don't get interrupted whilst I'm in those fridges. Now, I was going to get the actual physical hard copy, but with shipping here to Australia, it was something crazy like $120 from memory, and with me tightening up my spending in other areas lately, I couldn't justify this. However, I did find a free PDF copy online, hence all those links sent to myself. I found a few links to his old book, or stuff that just didn't work, but I do have his free ebook in my files now. I haven't read it still, since I've just been flat out, And plus, I imagine it's sales related, which is not applicable to my career, nor my business specifically. So I may read over it whilst a video is being rendered or something. The bottom email is a file transfer from my tutor, as he sent us all these questions and shit that were relating to what we were going to go over in class. A career stat and a potential brand stat increase are shown in this image. So, specifically career. So the study time was hectic, and I still ended up failing the exam, but it's mostly because by the time I had finished all my notes, I had 2 days left to revise. So lol. But I've literally got all the information I need in my study notes. So next trimester, I'll have an easier time. Just spend a few hours each week going back over those notes and we'll be golden next attempt. In the meantime, I had more stuff to do at work, and even now in the present day, not just back a few months ago, I'm getting more and more stuff to do. So that next pay raise is looking more likely, but I won't count my chickens before they hatch. Even then, it's a nice increase to the career stat via extra skills to list on my resume, which can gain me access to higher paying roles in the future if I so choose that path. Speaking of, I had an offer for a $100,000 a year job around this time, which is crazy stupid money this early in my career in this location, since this location where I work isn't a major capital city. Obviously, capital cities are where the big bucks generally are. So it goes to show the ceiling of income for my career is on the higher end. Now, the whole major salary increase thing may not be the most viable option, like gunning for jobs that pay a bit more than your current job may not actually be the most financially viable option. And the reason is, around the time of these few weeks during my exam hiatus, I discovered the potential of overemployment, which I made a quick note about in the last half of the video I made before I went on the 2023 semester 2 hiatus. So briefly, overemployment is where you work more than one full-time job. This is super common in some tech spaces in the United States. You might be thinking, how is this even possible? The answer is with white-collar, online/remote roles. Some people in tech work remote for at least 2 jobs, so they're getting paid from 2 separate jobs during the same hours. Now, this whole overemployment thing isn't really a thing here in Australia, since a lot of the jobs require you to come into the office on some days, so you couldn't really get away with this here, especially with accounting. There are like 0 fully remote accounting roles in this country. However, I do believe I found some completely remote bookkeeping roles, which I hope are still a thing in several years' time when I'm ready to take on that kind of workload, since for now, I have progression in my current role to worry about, as well as my CPA studies. I should probably focus on performing well at my current role, which increases resume credit, which would keep me secure in one full-time role, and focus on my CPA studies, which also increases security for one full-time role, before I worry about having a second. It'd be kind of like me worrying about my second property/house before even getting my first house. Worry about the first, then worry about the second. Worry about the stability of the first, whether that be an online job or your first house, and then worry about your second house or your second remote job. Now, the reason I have my eyes on bookkeeping is not only because, obviously, being an accountant, you could generally learn this, but most bookkeeping roles involve bookkeeping software that can be accessed via websites, such as QuickBooks, Xero, or MYOB. These can be accessed via any desktop if you have internet access, but for some finance/accounting roles, you need to install a specific program onto the computer. At my role, we use this particular system that you need to have installed onto your computers, and it's not a simple download and install. We had to have someone fly down from another state to spend a few days at our business to go around and install everything onto the computers. So, this is why I gunned for bookkeeping, since I'd be able to do this at my main job, and do some of it after work at my home too. Now, keep in mind, these are rough thoughts at the moment. Who knows if this is even feasible? Maybe my role progresses to a point where I'm so flat out I can't work another remote bookkeeping role, or maybe I get a new job as a finance manager that is too hectic to work a second remote job, Or maybe there will be no fully remote bookkeeping roles in several years' time. But I figured I'd just start thinking about it now, as most of my good decisions in life started from rough thoughts I kept at the back of my mind, such as my land investment and this YouTube channel. I didn't jump into either of these as a spontaneous decision. I was exposed to something at some point, and an idea started to shape in my mind, as is the case with this overemployment idea. I had seen it. I'm like, this is applicable to white-collar roles, which is me. Maybe I can take advantage of this. Oh, it's only a tech thing? Dang. Let's check accounting roles. Dang. Doesn't seem to be any fully remote accounting roles in Australia. But wait, what about bookkeeping? I see. Okay. Keep this in mind. This might be the play in several years' time. Now, if bookkeeping doesn't work out, there's potentially data entry roles. However, most of these are part-time from what I've seen, and they're a little trickier to get, as sometimes it seems they have some odd requirements that result in me being unable to do these at my current role, such as being free in amongst certain hours of the day. Now, once again, this is just a thought, but the issue with part-time data entry roles is maybe you're getting an extra 20 hours of pay per week as opposed to the 38 paid hours you get from a second full-time role. Obviously, 20 hours of extra pay is better than zero, but that's why I'm gunning for a full-time bookkeeping-related role, so I get that extra 38 paid hours. But these are possible ideas for down the track. I have enough to work on / be worried about for now. Money. So, during this time, I had a major expense, that being my car. Sigh. But I can't not get this serviced. It's the only way I have of getting to work. Gotta spend money to make money. But other than this, I've managed to be pretty good with my spending. No major expenses other than the car. I also received my belated 5 and 10 year anniversary badges from work, which included a $100 gift card, which can be used at my supermarket role. Obviously, the supermarket isn't going to give me a benefit to use at the rival supermarket, so this will slash future grocery bills by $100. I also had my tax return done shortly after my exam was done, but during this time, I was still working on that Adonis School scam video, and I went over this tax return briefly in my benefits of a weekend job video, but we saved more than like $7,700. Hell yeah. Guys will see this and they'll be like, hell yeah. And I also rediscovered the potential of selling study notes, which is an idea I had when I was back in uni. So I may as well try and monetize a bunch of notes that will just sit in my archives doing nothing, but I'll worry about that after my CPA studies are done. Aesthetics. So managed to not blow up like a balloon like I did last exam period. The bulk was going really well before the exam, which is annoying since I had to derail that. But you gotta do what you gotta do. I also found some new fitness influencers that came up on my Insta feed. Jake Hab, Dylan McKnight, and Maxwell Cross. I had talked in videos past about how becoming a fitness influencer is difficult since the industry is super saturated. But I did also bring up a point I heard from Marine / Student Aesthetics ages ago. Despite the fact that the field is saturated, there's always room for more. Which is true. But how many other guys are going to make it as fitness influencers and getting nowhere? Now Jake's size is crazy, Max's shreds are crazy, and Dylan is aesthetic too. All good goals to strive towards. I just need to commit to this bulk first. So check these out. The left pic is me at peak shreds back in late 2017, and the right is roughly around the time of that exam hiatus. One is shredded, the other is bulking. Imagine the shreds on the left, but with the size of the right, and then some more size on top of that. That's the goal, but I need to commit to a bulk for a long period of time. I've pretty much cut every single year since like 2015. Like I'd always do the summer shred, so obviously that's hindered my growth. Now the last sentence, I think I was just having some rough random thoughts. Like I had spent a lot of time wasted in the gym over the years when I was doing things suboptimally, which is true. A lot of that was suboptimal, but what I see in real life is that a lot of people drop off around this age. So in a way, they're the ones who wasted their time since they only had a small taste of the whole aesthetics thing. Yes, I spent years with shit training and diet, but at least that's not me anymore. And I won't let it happen to me. I'll ensure I keep the aesthetic stat as a key part of my life, which is more the reason to progress in my career and get my CPA qualification. That way, I'm the valuable one out of the employer-employee relationship. So I don't need to work shitty hours in a shitty job since I have the skills to just move elsewhere. And to be honest, does anyone really do everything 100% optimally? I doubt it. So, that's just some copium for me when I didn't do gym properly for years. I'm like, well, maybe there's a handful of people on the earth that did things optimally from the start, but that's not most people. Now, last point, I have no issues with people being more aesthetic than me. The idea isn't to be better than everyone, but it's more so, if I spent all that time in the gym and everyone else looks better than me, then I've just wasted so much time. But going to an in real life gym, when you're one of the biggest guys there, yes, maybe not all your time in the gym was suboptimal, but net overall, you spent way more time in the gym than most others here. And it shows. So stop worrying, you did good, son. You did good. So that's what that comment refers to. Investor. So during this time, I did some searching for other home builders, and it turns out I found some builders that can build houses for like $30,000 to $40,000 cheaper than this one builder who I thought I'd have to go with. So that's a lot of pressure off my savings. Around this time, I saw from some Aussie real estate channel that banks were easing some lending criteria, which hopefully still exists when I need to get the loan from the bank. And in fact, I had a chat with my broker during this hiatus, and she said I could get the loan that I probably need with only a $70,000 deposit, which I already have a good chunk more than that on standby. But that does assume that the house price doesn't go up a lot. The cheapest builder I was looking at has already raised the price of the design I was looking at by $3,000, and that's in the span of only a couple of months. So who knows how much the prices will be raised when it comes time for me to actually start building. In my state, the government is introducing taxes and legislation that makes rental properties in this state less attractive for landlords, which yes, means some people can now buy, but with our migration levels increasing, we still need rentals, which means the rent I can extract from my spare bedrooms becomes more. The extra costs for landlords doesn't fuss me too much since I'll need to buy a house in this state anyway, so I'd be paying for a house regardless, but it just slashes the competition against other landlords for tenants. I also found other real estate investment channels during this hiatus. These channels are providing great information about the real estate market. Obviously, I can't buy property number 2 yet, but I'm slowly gathering info from these guys, so when the time comes for property 2, I know where to look, not only for information, but the location to buy the second property in as well. I've even created playlists on YouTube to stockpile the videos, as well as downloading free ebooks from other real estate investors. I also found more stock market related finance channels. In fact, most of them are a part of my daily routine now. And if not, I listen to them most of the time. Yet more information relating to the stock market. In a few years, once I'm even more well versed in it and my CPA studies are done, I'll be able to make big moves in the stock market since I'll have so many sources of information to refer to. I also started to look into dividend investments. The reason is Australia's tax laws incentivise dividend payments. If you check the performance of the ASX 200 since July 2007, you would have only made a 12% return on your money. 16 years for only a 12% return? You can get like 11% in 2 years of interest from a bank, if the interest rate stays the same. So this ASX return is a horrid one. Now yes, I didn't choose the very bottom of the market, but can you time the very bottom of the market? Nope, because no one can. So if you want to be a nerd, you can judge the time frame from the bottom of the market, but that's an unrealistic scenario since no one can time the bottom. But anyway, part of the reason the ASX performed so badly in the past couple of decades is due to most companies on the ASX paying out dividends, which hinders their growth overall. but it's attractive to shareholders due to something called franking tax credits. Now, these are outside the scope of this video, but very basically, the tax the company pays on its profits, you get that tax amount as a credit on your tax return. So technically, you get this paid back to you. Check out the video from Quan Tian. He also has a really good video that shows how investment properties in Australia can be used as a tax deduction, and in fact, it's so effective if you're a super high income earner, like $250,000 plus per year. If you have an investment property that loses you money, as in it's a bad investment, you can literally still save more / make more money just by having that due to the tax deductions you receive from it. So like the tax you pay if you earn $250,000 a year, if you had an investment property that lost you money, the tax deductions you get for that literally, like obviously the investment property is going to lose you money, but the amount of tax deductions you get saves you more on your taxes than if you just did not have the losing investment property. But again, outside the scope of this video. So check out that video from this guy too. It helps show how investments in Australia's economy are a little different to around the globe, which obviously influences some of the financial decisions that I'm making. Maybe the decisions I make aren't super applicable to you. Brand. Lastly, for the brief summary section, I watched a video from Brian Jung that showed me how to become, or showed his audience how to become an affiliate with Amazon's affiliate partner program. Interesting information, but you lose it if you don't make enough sales within a certain time period. At this stage, I don't have an audience large enough to ensure consistent affiliate sales. Plus, I had more important tasks to attend to rather than worry about stockpiling a bunch of affiliate products. But this is an idea for the future. Thanks, Brian. I also found some other AI-related softwares that can help in video creation. I doubt I'll actually use these. I mentioned it in the video before the hiatus, in the second half, but I found these around that time anyway. But the AI-generated videos are more so for those generic channels that go over top 10 scary stories or some shit. That's what one of those softwares is good for. The other was an AI voiceover, which would make the editing for these videos so much easier, since most of the time involved is me recording the script and then editing out any stutters.
However, if I did this, I think people lose that personal touch, since the only personal thing you know about me, other than my IRL stats, you don't know my name, what I look like, you only really have my voice, so I may as well keep that in. Plus, listening to an AI voiceover can kind of be bland, even if their voice sounds better than mine. With a voiceover from me personally, you can tell there's another real person on the other side of the mic.
Like, I feel if I had a voiceover talking about a day in the life video, for example, or even stuff like this, a behind the scenes grind, it feels fake if you have an AI doing it. It feels like less believable, if that makes sense. Like some robot is just making some shit up, rather than just another dude on the grind showcasing his work, like what you're watching now. I mentioned before the new Alex Hormozi book may come in handy if I ever go down the route of selling shit, and my sub count really grew over the hiatus, which is awesome to see. As the sub count growth was stagnant for a little bit earlier this year, I had something similar around the middle of 2022 as well. The sub count was just really still, so the fact growth has been kind of consistent is nice. So that's all for this part of this video. All of that was basically just showing how my stats improved during my hiatus. So despite the fact my focus was on my CPA studies during that time, there was still some slight improvements in each of the IRL stats. Now, I will show you some raw footage I took from my phone during this time. I'll show some snippets and then I'll make a commentary on it. So this snippet shows a day I was sick. I was kind of sick during the day, but it just got way worse as the night went on. So nope, no work tomorrow. As the Snapchat caption shows, I tried to study, but it just simply wasn't happening. So I was like, I'll call work early tomorrow and tell them I'm not coming in. Unfortunately, there was some write-off time here, as not a lot happened in terms of progression, but it is what it is. No idea how I got sick or who I got it from. As I'll mention later, I don't really get sick, and also for some reason I just had a random craving, if you can call it that. A craving to watch Kim Possible, so that's why that show was playing. Usually my chill out time involves some nostalgic video game stuff on YouTube, World War II documentaries, Sonic Boom the TV show, Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, Who Wants to Become a Millionaire the game show, maybe some other stuffs. But this time I was like, yeah, nah, let's chuck on Kim Possible. Life's hard. Either way, I'm busting my ass for this study here. It would be nice to just play video games and stream, but he's not making that much from that. I know that for a fact, especially given the recent job amounts I've seen online. So life's hard either way, but choose your level of hard. So I was basically saying life is hard, but choose your hard. Here I am busting my ass in this study. Meanwhile, this streamer is just kicking back, speedrunning childhood video games. A tempting option, attempt to become a streamer, but how likely is this to pay off? Not likely. How likely are my CPA studies to pay off? Very likely. You can obviously fail the exam, like I did, but it's simply just due to running out of study time. You just redo it next semester. And the course content doesn't change. Well, even if it does, the changes are minimal. The core concepts all remain the same. I still have this guy running in the background when I'm working on my brand. In fact, I have him running now whilst writing this part of the script. And in this particular stream, he says his income is like 70% dependent on his audience gifting him stuff. He has some Twitch ad partnership that provides a little money, but it's mostly reliant on donations and stuff. He has a job. I think it's as a teacher based on a Tharixa video and past streams, but he works like once a month, if that. He said his real job scheduled him in for the first time in 1.5 months, but he can't do it since he's in Japan. So he's like, I won't be surprised if they fired me at this point since he comes in so infrequently. To hell with that, I'd much rather a more stable, consistent job. So that's a good example of someone who's focusing on the brand/business stat as opposed to the career stat. Although I guess his intention is to become a streamer, so I doubt he really cares either way. But as condescending as this is going to sound, this is a good majority of your competition when it comes to your career. If everyone was like me, aka studying advanced degrees/qualifications to further their career, my career outlook would be less certain since the labour market in my field would be flooded with supply. But if not many people are doing what I'm doing, then the path becomes more certain, since it's like, well, who else is doing this? Not many people, so naturally I can demand higher salaries/negotiate better perks at work, since there isn't many other options that they have for good candidates. You have guys who choose to play video games instead of going the extra mile. By all means enjoy yourself, but don't let it consume all of your spare time. However, many guys just don't heed this advice. They just do the bare minimum, which is easy picking for me. You are no threat to my job at all, and you are especially not a threat to my career trajectory. So this goes to show, in most cases, all you need to do is go the extra mile. That's usually enough to get you way ahead. You don't need to go an extra 10 miles. Example, if everyone in accounting got their CPA where I'm from, then maybe I'd need to go get an MBA as well as a CPA, which is a stupid amount of study. But luckily for me, many of the other accounting grads I went to uni with didn't pursue their CPA, they just have their bachelor's degree. Now, yes, maybe they will pursue CPA later, but it only gets harder in life as you get more responsibilities. Plus, getting your qualification earlier means you start accumulating your years of experience with your license sooner. If I have 7 years of experience with a CPA license, and they only have 2, guess who's a more attractive candidate on the job market? Yep, me. Lastly, there is something I'll talk about in the future and it relates to my career, but finance manager roles are a pretty clear path towards the big bucks for me. I mentioned how I was possibly becoming one in this video here, but in the end, my job title was accountant, since I wasn't really managing anyone, so a bit hard to give me the title of finance manager, which sucks because I think that's a pretty sweet job title. But anyway, guess what finance manager roles generally require? Yep, CPA. Unfortunately, accounting experience with a bachelor's degree just isn't going to cut it, but I will talk more about this in a future video. This finance manager thing assumes that overemployment becomes impossible, as I'd be stupid to attempt to gun for a finance manager role whilst being overemployed. That's a recipe for self-sabotage, but it's an option/plan. Either way, it's a level up, but I will talk more on finance manager stuff in a future video. So to summarize this reaction segment, if you can call it that, the competition for your end goals is so much weaker than you realize. Like the amount of people that were actually watching the stream, I was watching it as well. I just had it on the background, but you can just tell the people in the comments section are just sitting there drinking some Coke and eating some junk food whilst watching this several hour long stream. Like clearly they're not doing the extra mile for like their career or gym or anything. Like you just have no idea how weak the competition really is. But in the future, I will probably make a video along those lines, like why the competition is weaker than you think, but it'll be several months down the pipeline at least if I ever do make that. But anyway, back to this video. If you're wondering why I was covering something with my hand, it was covering my name. That way, I didn't have to do that shitty censor thing in the video editing. I am aware of the Gaussian blur effect on Adobe Premiere Pro, but for some reason I can't get it to work, so that's why you'll see just my brand logo slapped over some parts of the video later on. But anyway, this video that was playing in the background was a separate video to the one I just was watching before. Pretty sure it was a playthrough from Picaspree. This particular section is the final cutscene in the main storyline of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time/Darkness/Sky. It's a pretty heartbreaking scene if you've played the game before. Chances are it's the second time the game makes you cry. The first being when your character gets removed from the world due to you changing the future. If you don't get that, then don't worry, it's just the plot of the game. Spoiler alert? Anyway, I filmed that just for some nostalgia, and the song used in that cutscene is called Memories Returned. I believe it's the only instance in the game where it uses that soundtrack. Chances are I'm going to use that soundtrack in the background of my 2023 summary video.
Collecting all three of these types of coins will take you to a secret bonus level that's frankly the hardest ones in the game. It's a major difficulty spike if you ended up going into the Mine Rolling Stones. These levels in particular focus on...
So here I was taking a study break, checking what Social Blade had to say about my channel, and this was on my day off. Alright, yet another sick day. This one's a Sunday 10th. Normally at Woolies by now and would have been there for an hour, but woke up last night from 2:30 to like 6. I was just sick as a dog like the other day. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I never normally get sick, but when I do, it clears up in like a day, which I thought I had sorted out. Thought I'd sorted that out by having Thursday off, and was alright to go to work on Friday. Skipped gym though. Didn't want to give my body even more to recover from, but now we're sick again. So I'm not complaining about the day off, but obviously, well, not obviously because most people don't actually know, but when you have personal leave, which is what I have now today from the supermarket, you don't get the penalty rates attached, so I'll be getting the base rate. I'll still be getting paid, but I'll get paid at the base rate of like 25 something or other per hour rather than the 38 or whatever it is, so bit of a pay cut coming this week, but whatever, what can you do? You're sick, money down, aesthetics down, but at least I can make career up by making up for it with catching up on some study. So, and this 6 Sparrow 2 speedrun history video thanks YouTube algorithm, so I just have that running in the background, which makes study much more enjoyable. So we'll get back to study. The noise in the background was my dad working on something in another room in the house, because like our house isn't like fully done. So it's not like he's sawing something up in someone's bedroom or anything. Anyway, as I said, I had another sick day. Bruh, what the fuck? The sickness came back with a vengeance, which was weird. But anyway, got paid for the day off, but at the base rate of 25-ish an hour, times 8 paid hours, instead of the roughly 37-ish an hour I usually make on a Sunday. I managed to get some study done this day. Not as efficient as I would have been if I wasn't sick, but what can you do? So this was a video I took during a walk break. Every couple of hours or so during a day off, I'll break up the study/brand grind by going for a walk. This day in particular, it was sunny, so the shirt comes off, getting as much skin exposed to the sun as possible. The image here is a snapshot of what I look like just walking around. No pump, unflexed, maybe good lighting I suppose, but it's quite a difference than what you'd see in a post-gym flex pump. Instagram versus reality, people. I did also upload a similar flex onto my Instagram, although this is clearly flexing. It's an odd angle, and it makes one of my pecs look really oddly shaped and flabby. They don't usually sit/flex like that, but it's another example of Instagram versus reality. This pic shows an odd-shaped pec, but this one doesn't. Sometimes, angles and flexing in certain lighting makes your physique appear a fair bit different than what it is if you just usually walk around. This other picture here is a glass selfie. This is my reflection in one of the shed windows. Not sure what the deal is with this window, but it's always made me look super ripped/huge. The camera doesn't do the reflection justice, but if I could somehow get all of my Instagram pics looking like the real life reflection on this glass, that would be elite. But anyway, you can see that there is some decent size coming along, and the abs are still hanging around. The lower abs are long gone, but it's part of the bulk. Got the 2 days off work that I'd planned for quite a while, so just doing some lectures because there's a fuckload of them to catch up on. Holy shit, there's so much to know in this damn subject. But it's a bit more enjoyable when you got this stuff going on in the background. So just did some meal prep earlier as well, so pretty productive day, and it's like midday or some shit now. Yeah, plenty of day left to get a lot of crap done. Keen for lunch too. So on this particular Wednesday and Thursday, I had taken these days off well in advance. I already planned on crunching out study during these days, so I had 2 days off the week prior to being sick, and then I had these 2 days off for extra study. Gotta do what you gotta do. There was no way I was going to keep up with all the lectures that the tutor put out without taking a couple of days off to catch up. Lunchtime, I got random cravings for pies in the semester 2 2022 exam study as well, so anyway, no more study. We're gonna bring up good old Kim Possible. You gonna play or what? Yeah. So, keen for a lunch break. So, off diet, but gotta succumb to those exam study cravings. And as I said, I had a craving for these at the same time last year. Really odd. If I had a nickel or a penny or whatever, for every time that happened, for every time I got a craving for party pies during a semester 2 CPA exam, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't much, but it's odd that it happened twice. Or however that meme goes. The chirping in the background was our little pet dinosaur. She just loves to chirp. And we were still in that Kim Possible phase during this lunch break, although this phase lasted like 2 weeks tops. I haven't watched any of those episodes since then. and there was no way I was going to continue studying whilst eating. I was getting burnt out from it, so sometimes you just gotta relax. So this was the following Saturday. The previous section was a Wednesday, and this is post-gym, going for the classic flexes. There was some more poses, but you get the idea. During the hiatus, there was some gym sessions I had. The song playing on the radio is Love Song by Emil Damien, a classic. I first heard this song when I was a kid. On the way home from swimming and grocery shopping on Saturdays, Mum would play her music in the car, and every now and then, this song would play. I loved this song. I went years and years without hearing this song again, until one Saturday morning in 2012, when I was in year 10, I had either a dream about this song or I randomly thought about it again. And since I was a kid who just sort of mainly knew the tune, not the lyrics, it was hard to find this. I had tried in years past, but never succeeded in finding it. If I knew the main lyrics said, "Stupid Love Song," I would have had an easier time. But I recall the song saying, "Stupid Lovejoy." And that's the only lyrics I remember from this song. Like Lovejoy, like Reverend Lovejoy from The Simpsons, which is another reason it stuck out in my head. Whenever I heard this song in the car, when the chorus came up, I would always picture Reverend Lovejoy sitting in the seats at his church, whilst the singer was calling him stupid in front of the church. Lol. But anyway, I found this song somehow, and I remember being all ecstatic about finding it and telling my girlfriend at the time. A few weeks later, her dad picked us up from hanging around in the city shopping centres, and we listened to music on the way home. And the first song that came up on her music app was this song, so she also enjoyed it too. This is one of the greatest one-hit wonders of all time in my opinion. You can't even Google search the lady who sung this. Like, as in, you can't find out what she's up to these days. It's like she vanished after making this song. She did some appearances at some ARIA Awards or something, but after that she just vanished, which is a shame. This song kind of came back up in the spotlight here in Australia too. The Sydney Morning Herald had an article about it a few months ago. I didn't even realise this until I searched how to spell the singer's name. But there was some debates on the better song out of this, or another two. The other two, Not Pretty Enough by Casey Chambers and Scar by Missy Higgins, were also classics. But I actually knew the lyrics to these songs as a kid, so they were easy to find in my teenage years. Not sure if these songs were the jam overseas around this time, but the ladies were killing it here in Australia in the early 2000s. Anyway, enough reminiscing on nostalgia and fanboying over how good the song is. What I was doing here is putting away the empty meat crates, a task that's meant to be done the night prior. Oh well. This shift is also a Sunday. The morning after that gym routine, I was covering my manager, so that's why I had the earlier shift. Also, peep the temperature filter. Pretty freezing this morning, but hey, I'm on $50 an hour right now. I get $50 an hour for the 7 to 9 AM part of the shift due to how the penalty rates work. Hell yeah. Check this out. Free donuts. Hell yeah. Boys will see this and they'll be like, hell yeah. To be honest, I had most of these. The trick is to time your break to a point where no one else is on break, so you can get away with being a greedy grub. Here you can see I snagged some of the donuts, since I need to finish my tuna before having any sort of junk food, otherwise you get too full to eat the tuna. I ate way more than just these 2 donuts, by the way. Now the video I was watching here is from Blue Cloud Trading, which is a new finance channel I found during the hiatus, which is what I mentioned in the first part of this video, where I went over the stat increases during the hiatus. Always useful seeing other perspectives on the stock market. Don't be closed-minded, gather a lot of opinions, and form your own conclusion. So here I am inside the milk fridge. At this store we fill the milk from the inside out. It's bad because it's fucking freezing inside, obviously, but it's also good because depending on the circumstances, you can get away with listening to stuff on your phone. The fridge is really loud though, so you can't really have a soft sounding video playing, since you won't be able to hear it. On this day I was watching a bunch of stuff, but here you can see I was watching some awesome sauce. He had a pretty long hiatus, so it's good to see him back. Now normally I'd listen to finance stuff first and foremost, but usually Sunday Australia time there isn't a whole lot of content creators in the finance space uploading. Least of all, this early in the morning when I was filling the fridge. Plus, generally it's better for me to listen to finance stuff on Monday, within like 12 to 16-ish hours of the stock market opening, rather than more than 24 hours out, since sometimes I forget any trends/stocks I should be keeping an eye out for. But it's not that important either way. The point is, I'm getting paid $37 an hour simply by moving milk from a pallet to a very nearby shelf whilst listening to video game stuff. Easy times, bros. Also, not sure if you caught it, but my skin was really cracked when I did the thumbs up. That's what happens when you touch a lot of cardboard at this job. But it's fine since it's temporary and you can always use moisturizer on your skin, which is what I did later. So this was taken on the lunch break. It was sunny at this point in the day. I was like, let's get some sun during this break. Absorb some of that juicy vitamin D. This road is like parallel to the supermarket. I just need to cross the road on my left and the supermarket is right there. Country town vibes. So here are some snaps I took after that vitamin D sesh, getting in the flexes as usual. As you can see from the left image, the uniform can make your shoulders look really broad, which is sick. I need more t-shirts that fit like this. And the image to the right is clearly a bicep flex. You can even see the bicep vein still. Solid stuff. So at first I was trying to walk down a nearby road to get some sun, since where I usually walk around the house, the trees were covering the sun. But the trees are also covering the sun here. But then I realised we have a back paddock. Not sure how I forgot about that, so that's where I went afterwards. Had some pec flexes, no pump, not bad. Gonna get them juicy double Ds in no time. Shirt is off for extra skin exposure to the sun. Got the Greninja Pokemon pajamas off. I spy, with my little eye, something beginning with kitty cat. So, this is like the land on which my parents live on. As you can imagine, I'm living in the middle of nowhere. No chance you're getting land this size in the city. If you subdivided this land, you'd make millions easy, but my parents won't do that. In fact, they haven't extracted any equity on this land. They're not about that life. I did a flex too, but it didn't work. You couldn't see the bicep outline. Rip, clearly I need to bulk more. Here are some Reddit posts I found whilst at work and whilst getting in some sun after work. The first two relate to people's land purchases/house purchases. Goes to show how important of a decision this is. The first guy was like, my place only has one bathroom, despite the fact he works FIFO, fly in, fly out, which is mining jobs that pay really well here in Australia. He still only managed a one bathroom house. And I also think 3-bedroom too. Meanwhile, my house is going to be 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, despite the fact I don't work FIFO. It shows that making a lot of money isn't everything. You need to have some finance savvy to you too. In some cases, it can more than make up for the extra income you'd get at other jobs. The second post talks about how they regret not spending bigger first, as now they're locked out of upsizing since they need to fund their current home. This is a dilemma for many people. Do you get into real estate as soon as possible even if it's a smaller place? Or do you wait until you've saved up enough/earn more to get a bigger place? I'll talk more about the pros and cons in a future video, but I suggest getting into real estate ASAP, since the price increases in the price of houses generally outpace any salary/savings increases you can make from your jobs in the meantime. In most cases anyway. It just so happens that I'm able to save for a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car garage, 2-landroom house, which is probably the biggest sort of house you can get realistically as a single person. Like, you don't see any single guys under 40 years old buying a 2-story house just for themselves, you know what I'm saying? The extra money spent from a 1-story house to a 2-story house is probably better suited for a separate investment property. But again, all decisions for a future video. Case in point, it goes to show I've made a great financial decision by getting the bigger land size and by extension, a bigger house, even though this Redditor has a block of land that's not much smaller than mine. The third post shows tightening in the labour market. This is why you need to go the extra mile for your career stat. You need to make yourself the most valuable candidate on the market, which is what I had mentioned earlier in the video when I was talking about that streamer, Dayoman. So I just did the banking for my company for the very first time. Basically, it's just depositing the money in the bank. There's a little bit of account stuff to do beforehand, but basically I just did that. It's currently a bit after 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. So yeah, getting paid to drive to the bank and put the money in. Pretty good. And then while I was here, I normally shop every Tuesday night, as you guys, as regulars know. But there's a shop nearby and it's for rival Coles, because I work at Woolies, one of the major supermarkets here in Australia. I shopped at Coles, which I don't normally want to do because I don't get a discount, but the only thing I needed tonight was kiwis. Now, kiwis, like, normally I need more stuff than that, but it just so happens on this particular shop tonight, the only thing I need is kiwis. So I'm like, well, I'll make a special trip. I was like, well, tonight after gym, I don't have to make a special trip in to the supermarket just to get kiwis. So this worked out really well. The fact that there was one, you know, the fact that there was a supermarket right next to the bank I need to go to. Yes, it wasn't for the same company I work for, so I don't get a discount, but, you know, it's fine. The convenience pays off. But turns out the rival supermarket is having a promotion of sorts, and it's where you get 5 kiwis for $4, which is way cheaper than what my own store offers at the moment. I think they do like per kilo, and it works out to be $7.90 a kilo at the moment. And I think 5 of these kiwis, oh, actually, I don't know if they weigh up to a kilo, but it's like almost half price by just shopping at the rival. So that's a juicy tidbit. So going forward, I might need to check out what the rival supermarket of my company is offering on their promotions, because I could end up with a good deal like this, despite the fact I don't get a staff discount. So just a bit of an update, time to go back to work, back to the grind. Nothing major to add here. I already said what I needed to say, but yet another stat increase over the hiatus. More stuff for the career stat. These pics were taken after a workout in my home gym in the shed. There were lots of aesthetic posts around this time, such as from Maxwell Cross, and by now I had suspended my gym membership, since why would I pay for a gym membership I'm not using? So I had to work out from the home if I wanted to get a session. Arm size coming along nicely. So I had already talked about investment channels earlier in the video, but here is a screenshot showing some data on how Australia's tax laws have changed the way people invest in this country. More juicy information I found whilst I was on hiatus. Here are some quick swing trades I made around this time. Still keeping an eye on the stock market, still checking for some juicy information that could make me money. Although I suss much less stock market stuff during exam study, I will keep an eye out on the basic stuff that happened in the market. Honestly, just absurd. So difficult, no wonder they got rid of it in the real game. But yeah, I just like having video game stuff on while I study. Doesn't make me as efficient or productive, but it makes it a lot more enjoyable, that's for sure. Prototype version of Sunset Vista is crazy. The video playing is the prototype version of Crash Bandicoot, one of the hardest levels in the game. Sunset Vista was even harder in the prototype version. Crazy stuff. If you don't know this game, then you have no idea what I'm on about. But if you played this game as a little kid, like me, you know how nuts this is. The tabs I have open on my laptop are related to either my study, or I'm checking out home builders for potential other builders for my house. Still gathering ideas for my house/investment.
Okay. If this line is not there, then what is our carrying amount of the CGU? 320 plus 64 plus 42 plus 74.
So here is like a raw example of my study. I listen to what the tutor says, and I jot down notes accordingly. These are replays, so I can't answer live, which is fine anyway since I usually have no idea what's going on, which is why I'm going over the lecture and taking notes. Exam is very soon. Jesus, makes it so much more bearable to study. It doesn't even feel like I'm studying.
No, never. In fact, it's a pretty new one.
Just feels like I'm chilling out, really. Life hacks. As mentioned, my exam was soon at the time of recording, but as always, got the video game stuff on in the background. It just makes the study so much more bearable. It just feels like a uni assignment, really.
Crash and Cortex, on the other hand, also have a bit of this as well, with Crash clearly being a chaotic figure who...
Lol, check this out. Some student in the class is like, I don't like this subject, and she says it to the tutor's face. Based. Gotta keep it 100 for real for real. She isn't wrong. This subject is easily the most difficult in the course.
This saved 40 seconds on his previous run. With his nerves cranked all the way up.
Here I have my little study buddy, or study budgie. Top 10 questions science can't answer. But she leaves a lot of mess on my jacket, or my hoodie, whatever that is. Here was a quick snippet I took of what my laptop sees when I'm studying. There is no audio, but you can see the closed captions, which is what the tutor says. He will go over important notes in the textbook/study guide, and then questions. I didn't type anything here since I just scrolled back in the audio and then recorded this, but usually I'd be typing as the tutor is talking. I didn't give a live example since I just get distracted or I'd miss something, or I need to go back again and retake notes, and I spend way too much time doing that as it is. But either way, I feel this illustrates the point. I have a lecture on one side and the notes on the other. One day before the exam, pretty gloomy outside. Fitting music. So, going through all this, there is no way, no chance, because I got that in that as well, there's no chance I will be able to summarize and recall everything before the exam. All the answers are in here, but the problem is you're under such a time crunch. You've got like 2.5 minutes per mark, which sounds like a lot, but when some of those marks involve massive calculations, it's really not much time. So if I had another week, I could summarize this better, or I could at least learn where everything is, or learn where everything is in these books, but absolutely no chance I'll get it all done in time. I'll just have to hope I get a good exam in terms of like the questions are straightforward, but that's unlikely with financial reporting. But if it's any solace, I can't fail next time I do this because I will have more than enough time and all the answers are in just these 3 booklets here. So yeah, if I flunk it tomorrow, no big deal, just redo it again. Not the end of the world. In 5 years from now, that's not going to matter at all. But even if I do flunk it, I've still made some good progress in terms of getting my CPA because I am substantially closer to passing this exam than I was at the start of the year when I knew absolutely nothing. So, minor road bump at best, but it happens. So the answers are in the booklet because the tutor has combed through all we need to know, and I've basically gotten the transcript for every single lecture with questions to assist me in understanding the concepts. It's not like, oh, we are going to ask question 37 in the book, so jot down question 37 in your notes somewhere. It's like, they're going to ask questions relating to any of these areas, and every single one of these areas is delved into in amongst these notes, because we went over them during the 6 to 7 intense weeks of study, which is why I said I can't fail again next semester. I have the answers, I just need to go over the notes slowly in the coming months, and I'll be right to go next time around. So that concludes the video. This is an example of the behind the scenes grind. Whilst I was on my hiatus, I was still progressing in the game of life and moving on upwards. Thanks for watching. That is all.